Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive on something you hear all the time, but maybe haven't thought about too deeply.
Today or never, right?
Right. It's one of those sayings that's like, yeah, gotta seize the day. But we've got this piece that goes way beyond the surface level.
It really unpacks it as a whole philosophy.
Exactly. So our goal today is to pull out the actual wisdom you can apply, not just feel inspired for 5 minutes and then forget about it.
Yeah, that's the trap with these big ideas, isn't it?
Totally. Okay, so the thing that jumps out at me right away is the image of each day as a blank canvas.
Oh, that's such a powerful one right from the start.
It is, because it's not just about getting through the day, it's about creating something, right?
Absolutely. That's what the source really emphasizes. It's about that proactive engagement with life.
Okay, but that can feel overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
If every day is a blank canvas, where do I even start?
That's where the power of choice comes in. And the piece doesn't shy away from that at all.
Lay it on me. What does it say about choices?
It uses this really cool analogy of a spider web.
Okay, I'm listening.
Like each choice we make is a strand, and they all connect, they all build on each other to form this intricate web.
So even small choices have big ripple effects.
Exactly, that's what the source is getting at. It makes you think twice about even the seemingly insignificant decisions.
That's kind of scary, but also kind of empowering when you think about it.
It is. It's like, okay, what choice did I make today, even a tiny one, that might ripple out in ways I haven't even considered?
Ooh, that's a good question to ask yourself. Honestly, just now, I hit snooze instead of going for that run I had planned.
Hear you?
Maybe that ripples out to having lower energy all day, or missing a chance encounter on my usual route. Who knows?
Right, you just never know. And it's not about beating yourself up. The piece isn't about being perfect.
It's more about awareness, right? Like just being conscious of the choices we're making.
Exactly. And this ties into another big idea the piece hits on: the compound interest of actions.
Okay, like how small, consistent things build up over time. I know that from finances, but I guess it applies more broadly too.
Precisely. It's not about making these huge changes overnight. The source is much more about daily commitment to improving something, even just a little bit.
So consistency over intensity.
Yeah. And it uses the example, I love this, of like a daily commitment to improving something, even just a tiny bit. Over time, those tiny gains become massive.
That's a good way to put it. So, if I did go for those runs, even short ones, eventually I'm a runner, not just someone who wishes they were a runner.
There you go. It reframes those shoulds into actions.
I like that. So we've covered choices having ripple effects, small actions adding up over time. What else?
Well, the source doesn't just stay in the personal realm. It gets into how today or never impacts our relationships too.
Oh, that's a big one. What stood out to you from how the piece talks about that?
It's less about grand gestures and more about the everyday presence, you know?
Okay, I think I get what you mean, but say more.
Like really being there with the people we care about, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally.
Putting down the phone, actually listening. That's harder than it sounds sometimes.
It is, but the piece seems to say those small efforts are what build those strong bonds over time. It uses the analogy of a garden.
Oh, I like that.
Relationships, like gardens, they need that consistent care, those little moments of genuine connection if you really want them to flourish.
So today or never is about seizing the day, yeah, but also about those small, consistent actions.
It is. It's about the big picture and the tiny brushstrokes that make it up.
This is a lot to think about already,
Yeah.
and we're just getting started.
And we're just getting started. The source goes even deeper into how this applies to work, and I think you'll find this next part really fascinating. It frames a career not just as like a job, but almost like a symphony.
Okay, hold on, a symphony. I got to hear more about this.
Each day's work, each project, each task, they're all like individual notes.
I'm with you so far.
But played with intention, they build into something larger, more meaningful over time.
So it's not just about hitting deadlines. It's about how each action contributes to the overall, music of your career.
Exactly. The source even talks about like finding purpose and joy, even in the mundane tasks,
How do you think that applies to what you do day to day?
Well, to be honest, some days it does feel like just slogging through emails and meetings.
Yeah, I feel that.
But trying to think of it as building towards something bigger, that is a cool shift in perspective, I have to say.
And that shift is key because the source doesn't sugarcoat things, right?
Right. Setbacks happen, careers stall. Sometimes the music gets a little off key, so to speak.
So how does today or never help when things go wrong work-wise? It's easy to feel stuck in those moments.
It's about resilience.
Okay.
The piece talks about viewing those setbacks not as full stops, but as stepping stones.
Interesting.
Maybe you learn a new skill by fixing a mistake, or a closed door leads you to an even better path.
It's like those moments are part of the symphony too, even if they don't sound so great on their own.
Exactly. And that resilience, that willingness to keep going even when it's tough, that feeds into personal growth, which is another big theme the source hits on.
You know what's interesting? We've talked about choices, actions, relationships, now work. It's like all these separate things.
Right.
But the piece seems to tie them all together under this today or never umbrella.
That's what I find so powerful about it. It's not a checklist of things to do today. It's a whole mindset.
Okay, I like that. So how does that mindset apply to personal growth specifically then? What does the source say about that?
It's about embracing discomfort.
Oh, here we go.
That learning and growth, they often happen when we push ourselves outside our comfort zones.
So today or never isn't just about seizing the good opportunities. It's about seeking out the challenging ones too.
Precisely. It might mean finally starting that project you've been putting off, having that difficult conversation you're dreading, or even just trying something totally new, something that scares you a little bit.
Because each of those little stretches contributes to who we become in the long run.
Right. And it's never too late to start stretching. That's the beauty of this philosophy.
I like that. Each day is a new opportunity to choose growth.
Exactly.
But let's be real, sometimes those opportunities feel more like burdens, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I know I should learn that new skill for work, but I'm exhausted at the end of the day.
And the source acknowledges that. It really does.
Does it? That's good, because it's real.
It talks about the importance of self-care, making sure you're tending to your own well-being.
Well, that's important.
So you have the energy to show up fully in all these areas of life.
So it's not about pushing ourselves to the point of burnout. It's about finding that balance between challenge and replenishing our energy.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that today or never isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And to run a marathon, you got to pace yourself, you got to fuel yourself and take care of your body and the mind.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like even the act of resting can be part of today or never if it sets you up for better tomorrows.
Exactly. And this brings us to the final and maybe most profound idea the source explores.
I'm hooked. Tell me more.
It's how today or never extends beyond ourselves.
Okay, intrigued. What's that about?
It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things, you know?
I think so, but go on.
How our actions, even small ones, they have ripple effects that go way beyond our immediate circle.
So it's not just about making the most of our today, but about how our actions impact the today of everyone around us.
Yes. The source describes this beautifully as being a supporting character in the stories of others.
Ooh, I like that. And how do we become better supporting characters, so to speak?
It might be a simple act of kindness, a helping hand, or even just a listening ear.
Okay, I can do those things.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of something larger than ourselves, and that we have the power to make a positive impact on the world around us.
So today or never isn't just about personal gain. It's about contributing to the greater good, too.
Exactly. It's about realizing that our lives are all intertwined, and that by choosing compassion, generosity, kindness, those things, we can create a more beautiful and just world for everyone.
Wow, this has been a really thought-provoking dive so far. From personal choices to career goals to making a difference in the world, it feels like today or never touches on everything.
And we're not done yet. The source goes on to explore the power of mindfulness and how it connects to living in the moment. I'm eager to unpack those ideas with you in our final segment.
Okay, so mindfulness. I gotta admit, I hear that word thrown around a lot, but it still feels kind of vague to me.
Oh, I totally get that. It's one of those buzzwords that can lose its meaning, you know?
It is. So how does the source define it?
It's not treating it as some mystical practice or anything.
Okay.
It's more about paying attention to the present moment without judgment, noticing your thoughts and feelings, but not getting swept away by them.
So it's like being aware of what's going on in your head, but not letting it control you.
Exactly. It's about observation without getting totally hooked in.
I can see that. But how does that tie into today or never, though?
Well, think about it. If you're always dwelling on the past or worrying about the future,
Which I do a lot.
you miss the richness of right now.
That's true.
Mindfulness helps us savor these present moments, the good and the bad, without letting our minds drag us all over the timeline.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But actually doing that seems hard. Our minds are busy places.
They are. But the source highlights some surprisingly simple things.
To be some examples.
Paying attention to your breath, noticing the sensations of your body, even just truly tasting your food instead of just shoveling it in.
So it's about engaging your senses more fully in the present.
Exactly. And those little moments, they add up, they create a shift.
So even just taking a minute to really look at the sky, the colors, the clouds, that can be a mini mindfulness moment.
Absolutely. And the source even says that mindfulness helps us make choices that align with our values.
Instead of just reacting out of habit or emotion, right?
Exactly. It gives you that space between stimulus and response. And that space, that's where real freedom lies.
I